Hi everyone. We are a few short days away from the Papal Conclave. If you've been following this channel, you know that I believe the church has been under enemy control since October 26, 1958. And before the conclave starts, I just want to make a few points, a few things that I've never put out on video. The first is an article from October 18th. That's roughly a week before the Papal Conclave of 1958 started. It's the Italian newspaper Corriere della Sera, and you can see the date right there. And the article is titled, "The French Cardinals Will Support Roncalli." All right, and I'm just going to read a short excerpt from that. Okay. It is said that the French cardinals would be for Roncalli, who was nuncio in Paris and received the biretta from French President Vincent Auriol, and the news is worthy of credence also for other reasons. So, um, this is one of the leading newspapers in Rome, and the author or the reporter's name is Silvio Negro, and he was kind of the leading Vaticanista or Vatican reporter of that period. Now, what I just read, he points out that Angelo Roncalli, who became John the 23rd, received his biretta, which is his cardinal's hat, not from the Pope, but from an atheist socialist president of France named Vincent Auriol. And he goes on to write that the French cardinals formed the largest group after the Italians, and that they had agreed that they did not want to elect a non-Italian. He gives other reasons why he believes Roncalli will be elected, um, but I wanted to look now at what the FBI sources said about what happened in the conclave. It said on the fourth ballot, according to FBI sources, Siri again obtained the necessary votes and was elected Supreme Pontiff. But the French cardinals annulled the results, claiming that the election would cause widespread riots in the assassination of several prominent bishops behind the Iron Curtain. Okay. And then the other testimony, that of Father Jean-Marie Charles-Roux, who said, even as the thunderous cheers of the crowd outside could be heard by those inside, a group of cardinals in league with Tisserand being the French cardinal and also the dean of the College of Cardinals, commanded the ministers to change the mixture in the stove to wet straw in order to produce black smoke. So the point I want to make is that why would they elect Cardinal Siri only to turn around and why would they allow him to be elected just to then cancel his election and elect someone else? And the answer, or the possible answer, is that they wanted to elect a true pope so that they could put an imposter in place that would be free of the influence of the Holy Ghost. In a diabolical sense, it worked very well because Cardinal Siri being only 52 at the time, that meant that the next John the 23rd, Paul VI, John Paul I, John Paul II were all anti-popes because the legal pope was still alive. And that brings us to Ratzinger, or Benedict the 16th. And I know there's problems with him, and I was certainly not going to stop going to the Latin Mass just because he was elected, but it might have anyway, I don't know. I don't know about this situation. with Benedict the 16th, but it's almost like they tried to do this because he might have been valid, and then they kind of shoved him aside and put Francis in. So they kind of did the same thing as they did in 58. Is on some level, Benedict the 16th might have been lawful, but I don't think he could have implemented his anything anyway. Second thing I want to bring up is, now suppose Cardinal Siri was the lawful pope, but was shoved aside. Did he try to do damage control? And that's where I did find this book. It's written by an author from Genoa who knew Cardinal Siri. It was written in 1976, long before there was any real talk of Siri being the lawful pope. But on page 67 and 68, he writes this. But the serious question for him, that is Cardinal Siri, was the fact that every day the local and national press spoke of the protest of the Church of Genoa. And it goes on a little bit. This is translated from Italian, so it doesn't read that well. I will put the translation in the info box under the video. But he goes on to say, Cardinal Siri was so good at the game against Rome that they did not want to push the bishop into schism by preventing anti-conciliar gestures. Whoever would bother to ask the bishop's conference news on the matter were told to be patient because Cardinal Siri of Genoa would soon be gone. How many times was it announced that the Pope had asked Cardinal Siri of Genoa to leave, but Cardinal Siri, after his ouster from the presidency of the Bishops' Conference, did not want to lose the last place with which he had left to lead the battle against the Church Council. He had friends in Rome, was linked to many bishops who did not approve of the line of the Secretariat of the Conference of Bishops. From all over the world came to him consent to his pastoral letters. He always felt at the center of the anti-conciliar worldwide restoration movement, a kind of anti-pope in pectore. So if you don't know what in pectore means, it means it's usually a cardinal in pectore, which means a secret cardinal, a cardinal that a pope has made that no one knows about. And this is the author's words, and he's describing Siri as an anti-pope in pectore, because he doesn't know that Siri is the true pope in pectore, at least in 1976, or really until his death. And I think that a lot of traditionalists underestimate the difficulty that Siri was in. He could have separated himself from the church like Lefebvre did, and Bishop Tuck, but I'm not faulting them for doing that, but I think he knew that his role was different, and that the best chance for restoration was to wait it out and have people ready to reclaim the papacy when the conditions became favorable.